Now. All right. Okay. So good afternoon and welcome everyone. Today for the 5th session of Engaging Cities Initiatives Summer School on Water and Water Bodies. In today's 5th session, we have Mr. Josh Brooks from Auroville, Pachandagara Forest. Then we have Mr. Sunil B. Suryavanshi. He is a village sarpanch, also from Pani Foundation, from district Satara in Maharashtra. And the third speaker is our own program's lead course facilitator, Dr. Mansee Bal Bhargava. So today's session is also particularly special for me because Josh is coming from the same place from where I also come, and he came there much before. So it is also not easy to introduce for a person like Josh, who has given a lifetime of work, amazing dedication for the cause of ecological restoration, and also always respecting the local wisdom, local ancient wisdom. We have been associating with Josh on a very personal level. We are familiar with the nature of work. And when I am saying we means people within Auroville. Apart from being a ecological warrior, one can say, of a kind, and there are few others, many others in Auroville, those who have dedicated their lives, energy towards this work, and that has been one of the main work of Auroville in the foundational years, even now, today, and Auroville is known for its ecological restoration work. Josh has developed very good skills and is contributed not only within Auroville but elsewhere also on a greater scale. So there are many projects which he has been doing in and around Auroville. One of the very well known in the last time has been Adayar Punga project in Chennai. So linking that kind of project with the state of Indian cities, we have very poor, almost negligible, utilizable open spaces for socialization, interaction, or any other activity, the breathing spaces of the cities. But they are also called the lungs of the cities. In the report on climate change, which also talks about one of the major requirements in our cities for them to be healthy and livable, having access, having better utilized open spaces, which are also linked with the ecological system, is, I think, one of the major tasks which particularly India and many other countries have to take it up. I see the same situation also in Puducherry, which is our next door neighbor. City is nice, amazing, beautiful. Many people, tourists come, but when we talk about people going out for recreational and connecting with the city, half the city comes on the same promenade, the beach promenade. I would like to request this other people to keep themselves mute. Just hold on.
Arshita, will you please check who are in the unmute mode? You may just mute them, except Joss and Lalit. Thank you.
Yeah. So,
yes, Lalit.
So with this, I would like to invite Joss, who has been doing a wide-ranging work. I have also seen his work in Nadukupam, an area, piece of land not far from Auroville, where an amazing range of work, and how that work is integrated with the local community wisdom and empowerment, and bringing the program of ecological environmental awareness very much alive as a part of living curriculum. So how I have seen how the students, children are engaged, the way they are learning, I think that there is a great lesson for all of us, the great inspirational work which has been done, keeping both the requirement of today as well as the ancient tradition, bringing it all together for that integration. And I think Joss has developed fairly good skills and experience on those ground, and how he has been also linking with governments, corporate bodies, and encouraging and inspiring them to take up more and more of this work. So with that small introduction, I would like to invite Joss to share with us some of his works and the words of wisdom. Joss, over to you.
Lali, have we put this on? So I'll just rewrite that for me. Yeah, I'm sitting here in the middle of this 70-acre forest, part of the Auroville Greenbelt. It's a very beautiful, peaceful day here. The last few days I was in Chennai. Yeah, talking about some of that work that Lalit was mentioning, how to take it further. But just a tiny bit about myself. We could go to the slide, I think. I'll put the presentation up and then, yeah. And I call it Remembering the Future Garden, because this part of Tamil Nadu was a beautiful garden. I think just a few words to remind us it's not changing. Hang on, we've got technical thing here.
That's okay.
Okay.
It's working.
It's just to remind us that of this this moment in time. I mean, we can surely hear the ice cracking. I don't think Greta Thunberg is too wrong, and it's so important that young people to realize that and make a commitment. I think it's a commitment to peace also, because I think this thing of, as Gandhi said, how can you be non-violent to nature if you're violent to each other? And this is a huge part of the dilemma. Let's call it a dilemma. I was born just at the end of a time when mankind had just killed about 70 million people, and there was trauma, destruction everywhere, one concentrated madness. You sometimes feel since then it's just gone on, little madnesses. But I was born in England at that time when Europe was in a total mess, and most people were sort of refugees and wondering what to do next. Very soon after that, or when I was young, I went to Australia with my family, and I grew up in a very beautiful place called Tasmania. And that little island, which is rather protected even now, there's no COVID there. In that place, which is half the island, is a World Heritage Area. It's somewhere that is very special for the old people too. The Tasmanian Aborigines lived there before the Europeans came and brought their particular brand of madness. They lived there for about 40,000 years, quite happily. And their paintings on the caves remind one of it very much of another time. It only took about 70 years for the last Tasmanian Aborigine to be eradicated by the British settlers. So one has that sort of memory of the madness of one's own people. But that was where I grew up, in this incredibly beautiful place, but where another tragedy had happened. I think the spirit of the Aborigines came into the people, the thinking people, the caring people of Tasmania. The first Green Party on the planet was in Tasmania in the 50s. And this picture, this particular photograph, brought down a central government. It was a question of a dam. They wanted to destroy this river and in the process destroy the caves where the beautiful paintings by the Aborigines were. And the Green Party just asked Australia, do you want this or not? And it brought the downfall of that government that wanted the dam. It was the power of if we act. I think this should be sort of reminded of this sort of thing. The activists went out, thousands went to jail, lawyers, students, workers, whatever, because they didn't want that river, and they saved the river. Good news. It was about the same time that Silent Valley was saved in India. Tasmania was beautiful, and growing up aware of this wildness, and that I think is what needs to come in. I saw a presentation yesterday in Chennai called Wild Chennai, and this was by the corporation. So the word is in the air, and we're a long way from it, but that's what I think we should try to bring back, that wildness that reminds us from where we came from. Tasmania is that it instilled in me many pictures, images of how the planet is when it's in balance. I did studies and stopped studies and became a lighthouse keeper and ran away from Tasmania and lived in different parts of the world, and then came across the garden of Tamil Nadu. And this garden with its own pattern language intrigued me. And this story of these two, our teachers, Sri Aurobindo and the mother, that intrigued me. They said, from the depth of matter, a new consciousness will emerge and unite earth to heaven. At that time, at the end of the 60s, this had happened. Mother had dreamt up, invoked a pattern of people living together, a new township. And here on 28th of February 68, soil from 120 countries was put in this urn. Lots of people came, and Indira Gandhi gave her wise words, and the mother talked. And Auroville was born. And it was honored. It was honored by UNESCO, and people thought, wow, this is a great idea. And somehow it's always wonderful when these ideas come down and come into matter. That urn is still there, of course, in the middle of Auroville, next to the Matramandir. And that vision of a spiral township with a great green belt around it and parks going through it. This is what we all fell in love with. And the mother was there, and she was guiding us and giving us hints about what to do. But she didn't give us a garden. She didn't give us a green rice field. She gave us this, and a big empty sort of palette, red earth, old cultures, bullock carts. And we ourselves, we started a few years later, after I'd learned how to build a hut and speak of the Tamil, we started the Pachandagara Forest. And it's an environmental organization. We've got a small community, about 20 people, with 70 acres. We've got lots of nurseries. And this is what it looked like when I started. Just palm trees. And the chap on the left, he was a traditional healer and a playwright. He taught me about the plants that we did find in sacred groves, etc. And that's me on the right. It was a time, it was fun filling in this empty canvas but realizing what a challenge it was. This is a canyon going about 3 kilometers inside of Auroville. We watched the monsoon rains come down and melt this laterite. And the sea was red for 20 kilometers up the coast. We thought, well, this is ridiculous to try and think of building a township when the very foundations are being washed away. I think we better do something about it. And so hundreds, thousands probably of kilometers of bunds were made to keep that soil higher up on the plateau. At that time, one started to understand the system, the genius of Tamil Nadu, the systems of Yeris, from Yeris down to the Kulams, and the Uranis, the Tangals, the Kanmais. And you saw that thousands of years ago, people affected by the tropical storms that whirl in from the ocean late in the year. They must have destroyed villages, destroyed time and time again, until wise people said, well, let's work with this water. Let's keep it high. Let it be a vast water retention landscape. Keep the water high in the catchment so it goes into the ground, so we can have open wells, so we can have more agriculture, and then we can have civilization. And the whole of this area is covered with thousands of lakes, and they're all people-made. And this is where we understood, yeah, the watershed. And this sort of triangle is our watershed, 800 square kilometers. There we are down the bottom. The water from Auroville goes through these lakes, into the Kalavati tank, through the salt flats out to the estuary. But all of those blue spots, and they're big, they're all people-made. There's nothing natural about it. People have been here for a long time. And of course, that has led to the destruction of a lot of the forest and the vegetation. But this tank system allowed civilization, allowed communities, allowed big temples to be built. And what we know of, and what we discover still as we go out collecting our seeds, and we see that respect for water. We see still occasionally you can see the traditional systems, lifting water a few meters up into the rice field. And you can't do that without singing. And it's quite difficult to sing to a diesel motor. We drilled our wells down, turning around a corkscrew into the ground, 100 feet, because we're on the plateau, so that we could have water for to drink, or for our nurseries, or for our animals. We put up wooden windmills, canvas sails. And we saw on the temple walls the inscriptions, and understood that people explained how poets came together and sang for weeks on end, their songs, told their stories. And here you could get the description of the biota, the animals, the birds, the vegetation. And these themselves, 1,500, 2,000 years old. And we learned through that of this forest that was there, this coastal evergreen forest. And we started to really respect it right at the beginning. We found it in sacred groves. We mapped them up and down the coast, right from north of Chennai down to the bottom, and made databases and learnt some botany. because none of us were experts. None of us were trained biologists, botanists. It was all learnt in the field. There you see, it's that area of Tamil Nadu. There's 400 woody species. And we started to concentrate particularly on this type of vegetation. And it was great to hear yesterday in the corridors of power in Chennai that they made a decision to only plant indigenous plants in Tamil Nadu. I mean, it's coming as a government order. That's great. In the sacred groves, these little forests protected, this is where we found the mother trees, collected the seeds, learned how to germinate them. And yeah, that was a task in itself, because there were no books. There was definitely no cell phones or Wikipedia or this sort of stuff. We had to scratch them and soak them and give them to goats to poo out and then germinate the poo. And it was a good time. Decades of collecting seeds and growing seedlings. It's interesting, today there was about 12 of our team went out collecting seeds in reserve forests and sacred groves. Still, just checking for more species. We're adding species all the time. And gradually this place grew up as a training center. We learned our song, we could sing it, and then we sang it to children or women's groups or policymakers or whoever we wanted to hear it. And we put together a seed room, a training center, and with its collections of seeds, photographs and technologies. And it's been good. It's been good sharing. And I think we've concentrated on that. We're determined to keep going, creating spaces where there can be a conversation between children, experts, women's groups, policymakers, the people that in a forest, in a garden, rather than just in a classroom. So remember what it looked like, those first huts, the first huts in the middle of this sort of desert-like landscape. And then it's become a very, very sweet forest that talks to itself above ground and below ground, and particularly below ground, and has invited every sort of insect that should be there and bird that should be there. And we had camera traps in the forest recently, and a rusty spotted cat was noted and hadn't been recorded for 187 years. So I think nature is happy. Nature is happy about this effort, and we feel they're happy about us being there and being stewards, because we're not owners, we're just looking after this. And it's got more life than what it did then. And Auroville itself so looks like this after all these years, with the Matramandia coming up in the middle. Yeah. So Auroville in all this time has gone ahead and developed its populations and its crafts and its technologies and its industries, and it's about 3,000 people and from about 50 countries and half of them Indians, and it's great. It's got its challenges, huge challenges, because we won't get into all that, but it's just a nice place to be, so everybody wants to be here. We just want to go on working with the world, but we need space to do it, and certain conditions, and I think the dream of Auroville is it's there, it'll always be there, but it's having to change quite a bit in these exciting modern times. Our work is, it's dedicated to the conservation re-establishment of this coastal flora, planting wild landscapes. We're fascinated by traditional technologies because we know that many of them will come back. And there's research and there's art, and we use a lot of art to communicate what should be there. And all through this, of course, is education. How do we communicate this story to encourage more people to do the same? Because if we can do it, anybody could do it. As continuous. Paintings on cut-up stones is one of our teachers talking to a women's group. Our centers, about 15 years ago, we've been working with the FRLHT, and we're a medicinal plant conservation park. We've done lots of work in lots of villages, bioresource registers, etc. But we got a bit tired of working everywhere. We wanted to concentrate. So we found we knew this village and this school, and it was then known as the worst school in Tamil Nadu. And the village, though, they gave 2 acres of land and added it onto the school, and we built a little training center. And yeah, it was a pretty grim place. There was just a couple of trees and no water, no toilets, and not a great place for learning. But we did a fence and a bore well and a hand pump, and things started to happen. And then with some solar panels were part of the treatment system, and that was nice. And this still all works. Water's recycled from the bathrooms and toilets.
Wow.
Yeah. And lots of trees were planted. So it's sort of a bit of a botanical garden now. And we see schools as the best place, as entry points into the community. And because, yeah, you've got these customers every morning. They always turn up, and they've all got mothers and fathers, and it can be in women's groups and farmers groups, and vegetable gardens were started, and this has all gone on. This boy who's writing there, he's one of our teachers now. And there it is. It was 10%, but now it's 93%. So everybody's fairly happy. And the programs, they're exciting. They're outside. They're learning how to be friendly to animals, yeah, even snakes, and lots of curriculum development, lots of games, traditional games, and lots of art. So all this has gone on, and it's led to other places. Transformational ecology is an example, is Adiaponga. And this was really an example of working with a city right in the middle of the city. And this master plan, which took us about a year to do, we were asked to do it. It's right in the middle of that city of 11 million people. And it's complex. It's tidal. Part of it is tidal. It's an urban wetland, so we need the water from all around. We never saw this as the 59 acres, the first stage. We saw it as part of 2 square kilometers of the catchment. So we came back always to catchment. We teach that. This is your catchment. It's your watershed. And this is where we are. We teach sense of place and get the children to learn the history. Even in this case, we talked to the elders all around. We mapped it to make sure that, and then worked with the women to separate their garbage. And so the streets were clean, and the water falling on the streets that came into the Ponga was as clean as possible, because we needed the water. But it was a complex system, and the master plan was accepted by late Mr. Karnardi and 2 of our team there holding the plant. He planted, and it's grown up wonderfully. So when we actually started the work, the day after signing the contract, this was the Ponga on the left. That was a biryani hotel. And we turned it into what's on the right, which is kind of sweeter. It was a transformation. It was a lot of moving of 60,000 tons of rubble putting it under where they were building flyovers and places. But probably 70 years of rubble dumping into this place, into this wetland. So in a few months, we created these water bodies. And gradually, yeah, the birds came back, and we did the paths so people could walk, and it was friendly. It was a place, it was a peaceful place where, and it is still. And yeah, we planted 200,000 seedlings of 172 species from Auroville nurseries, mostly from Pachandagara nurseries. And this is the clever things to have the plants. And there's not many people yet growing the plants. The forest department grows some, but not a lot. And Auroville's got really good at this. The Auroville Botanical Garden, the work of Yop and Glenn, it's amazing. And this, and the children, they help plant the trees, even in the Punga. And yeah, those signs of generation it was a difficult place. And the fiddler crabs came back, and this biota, so I felt it was a pretty good place too. And when things start eating each other, then you feel you're sort of there a bit. You started on the right journey, like on the left there. And there's a lot of monitoring and lots of reports, and we continue to look after this place. One of the genius of the Tamil Nadu government to allow this to happen, instead of just turning it into mini golf or plastic swings, and this was wonderful, and it continues. And our reports each month show different species being discovered, and it's continual. And in the master plan, there was a lot about environmental education. Though we saw this as a place, as I said before, a conversation between the millions in Chennai, and we wanted it to be a training place for restoration ecology, for not just Chennai, but for Tamil Nadu, for India. And our education programs have gone on, and in interesting ways. These pictures are from just last year, and small programs. And what's nice, we are being asked now, with this sort of change of government, back to the people that made the park, we're being asked to develop the program further. So this is quite exciting. The better version of Auroville can be shown in a better version of ecology in the middle of Chennai to a lot of people in Tamil Nadu. But it's complex. There's also seminars on urban diversity. This is in the Ponga itself. This was 10 years ago when we were doing it. The exciting thing was that I said, I won't do this unless you give me 2 acres as a demonstration site. And so while we were building the Ponga, or creating it, nurturing it, we had all these programs going on. So 80,000 people visited the Ponga while it was being built, put together. And all these programs were done at that time. Green Warriors, Friends of the Ponga, organic garden training. It was all going on. And lots of artwork, creating bits and pieces throughout the park, using old stones, sometimes upcycling broken things, and our paintings, and of course the wonderful drawings, black and white drawings done by one of our team, Mr. Eric. That's the Area Ponga Environment Center, which in principle we'll be looking after for the next years. It's very simple, built out of the earth technology from Auroville. Mr. Stalin used to come down and watch the bricks being made, and all the wooden furniture made of wood from Auroville itself. And it's a gentle place. There's not much cement around because it's a wetland area anyway, CRZ. And this is the Ponga. This is this park of the first phase was some 60 acres. Now it's 350, and it goes on up the Aria River, up the Coombe River, up the Corsitalia. This is starting. Last week, a minister came down to the Ponga, and then announced that he had 2,600 crores for eco parks in Chennai and Tamil Nadu. So things look good. I think we'll have more parks in Chennai over the next years, places where you can remember where you came from. And that's important when you're stuck in a traffic jam on Mount Road or something like that. I just switched now to a work we did, 2 years ago. And this was another sort of disaster. And it happened after the floods. So you know about the floods a few years ago in Chennai, and 500 people got drowned in the night, and it was just chaos. There's too much water or not enough water, and that's Chennai. And some wanted to help show that if we remake the lakes to the west of Chennai, that would help a lot. Not just one, but hundreds. And this was before and after. A few days ago, I was there at Sirisiri. We doubled the capacity, huge capacity. It's 100 acres of water, and above it is a reserve forest. So the water coming into the lake is clean, pure. You could drink it. And this is very interesting. You can see there an aerial view of the forest on the left, and it's just on the outskirts of Chennai, and these hundreds of lakes to the west of Chennai. If we restore them all like this, then Chennai will have water. They won't have to start thinking about taking water from Kalaveri Tank or something like that. These are photos on the left. This on the right is it's the environment center that we want to build on the tank bund. We're just negotiating to get some funds to do that. It'll be movable, it'll be containers, but we need a place where the community can come and see the list of birds, come and plan, come and think of the next thing to do, and have fun. So that's our little center that we've designed, and we hope it will be built soon. As part of that catchment, you see the reserve forest, the green on the left, the Sirisiri RF. The lakes next to it are the ones we've restored. More lakes going down all the way to the dirty Buckingham Canal and the dirty backwaters where millions of people live in high-end apartments and just complain about the smell. But we're working with groups, very active and enlightened groups, just wanting to know the technology, how to do a decentralized sewage systems, that Auroville can show very, very well. How to bring the right plants to the edges of these dirty canals, and how to plant trees and create sanctuary all along the banks. Now this is part of this story. If you look at that, you can see the part in the middle of the yellow lines. It's heavily eroded, and exotic plants from Australia, the acacias, Holocericera, auriculaformes, have taken away, stopped the undergrowth being there, and the silt. Heavy erosion happens and the silt is starting to go back into the tank. So one says to the secretary that, please, this doesn't make sense. You'll have to pay another 5 crores to desilt this tank. And this tank was a CSR venture by TCS, the big company, because they've got a huge interest because they want the water and they don't want to be washed away in the next flood. And so this is a proposal to work with Forest Department, which is exciting. The Auroville botanists working with Forest Department over many, perhaps 10 years, to bring back perhaps 1,000 acres of reserve forest with all the challenges, because there's deer there, there's all sorts of things. But these are just sharing the challenges that we're sort of interested in facing or already facing. Not far away, during the time of COVID, with lots of things to do. We had to milk our cows, look after our trees, and do lots of jigsaws, but we also did some master plans. And this was a master plan for 35-acre lake just nearby, next to the technical park. So all the people would come, and there would be an environment center there that would be run by local colleges and schools, where they could monitor the water, the air, the hands-on projects. And it would have a cycle track and hills and islands and no boating, because it's for the birds, and a peaceful area, an outdoor gym. But this is the sort of thing we do, turning sort of dump sites, smelly places into something beautiful. I think our vision is community environmental education planning centers throughout Tamil Nadu. In the last days, I was sort of sharing that a bit with planning commission people and really very, very enlightened officers. Wonderful, wonderful energy at the moment in Chennai and Tamil Nadu, touch wood. And using our current centers at Pachandagara, Nadukupa, our coastal environment center, and Nadia, we can create these Tamil Nadu blue-green environmental planning and training centers. Yeah, what a vision. But somehow people like it. And then this time, it's a time where we need visions and we need practical skills. And the Chandigarh's strengths are in creating these places that you could talk from, not just academic possibilities, but we can talk from. And our vision is that these environment, teaching, training, and planning green, blue hubs could be established in 40 districts of Tamil Nadu. Let's say in the next 4 years, we could make 400 of them to replicate, whether the Auroville forest areas, the Nadukupons, the Adiapongas, and then there'd be a lot of people being involved in this game. And I thank you for listening. I hope it made sense. And all the best. Join the work. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Very inspiring indeed. As usual, what a range of work. Engaging all domains of society and natural ecological systems. So we can have a quick short question answer session. Mansee, how is it with Sunil? Just to know. I can't hear. Would people like to ask questions directly, or they would like to write the questions in the chat box? So you can unmute yourself and ask the question directly. That is fine.
Joss, hi. I'd like to say hi to Joss.
Hello.
Hi, Joss. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah.
I hope you remember my face. This is Harini. Can you see my face? Yeah?
Yeah. A wonderful Harini from Adiaponga days.
Yes. How are you, Joss?
I'm good.
He remembers.
Hope you come and visit sometime soon.
We were there a couple of weeks back. Me and Anu. Anu's also part of this program. We were there in the Punga last couple of months back. We went there and we were walking around, spoke to Vishwanath and came back.
Okay. Good. Okay. Well, I'm sure we'll meet up soon.
Sure, Joss. Lovely to see you. You never age, Joss, and I just want to say that. And bye.
Oh, you. Okay. Thanks.
Good. Do we have some questions for Josh? Anybody? This is a very good time for people to interact and ask any kind of questions. Okay. There is one question from Manu. What are your insights about working with government on environmental regeneration? Any challenges? Josh, this is a question for you.
Well, it's essential. It's essential, and I just feel more and more we're all coming gradually to the same page. I just mentioned yesterday, I actually met 7 IAS officers, and they're all friends. They're all friends. And we're sort of planning all sorts of escapades. What they need is imagination. They need ideas. We can bring the ideas. And this is the only tool we have. Never forget that, is our imagination. Our imagination. You don't actually have to go to the books or Wikipedia or whatever. Just look at what the problem is in your backyard, your street, your yeri, your whatever, and just imagine what it could be. And that's what the mother taught us at the beginning here. We had not a clue what to do in the middle of these empty fields. And she said, go out there, sit in those fields and see if you can see. If you can't see, it won't come down. It's all there in the subtle physical. I'm sorry, and that's whether it's in a dump yard in Chennai, or whether it's something in Delhi or whatever, the big mess that's all around. Imagine it's something else, and then start working step by step and get all your help you can from the government people. Make sure your ideas are really, really insane, really, really strong. Nothing ordinary, because that's what the ordinary ideas are there. Bring down something, do photoshops of it, and Photoshop, they love it, and they're not very good at it. That's the imagination. Do that and show it to them and say, wow, and then they'll help you do it. I mean, that's my experience. Sure, there's difficulties, and there's always difficult people. I can be difficult too, but we're all a bit funny, but they have enormous energy, and this is a good time. And this is India. You know, we've got this huge possibility. India is the huge possibility. And I find working with government really exciting.
Okay, we have one hand from Kavya. Kavya, you can go ahead first because you raised your hand, unmute yourself, and then we have some more questions here. We can't hear you well. No, we can't hear you.
Hello.
It's very,
Hello. Speak up very, very loud.
very light. We can't hear well. Still not coming through. Kavya, maybe you can check your mic setup. When it is working, you can just come back. I'll proceed with other questions which are there. Is it fine? Okay, we have a question from Mahek. She talks about, can we also relate them with 73rd Amendment Act? Joss, are you familiar with that?
No, help me.
So these are 73rd and 74th Amendment are basically more for empowering planning level urban local bodies. Basically all local bodies, they should have more empowerment and decision making in their hands. So they need to be more empowered and making a decision. It's basically delegation, decentralization of power structure to the smallest, the grassroots level. That is the spirit and essence of 73rd and 74th. So in a way, I mean, even I can respond to this. Mahek, I think, yes, very much. You can relate them with this because all this work is happening in the local context. So if that kind of tie up, that relationship, and what Joss also talks about, taking people in the spirit of collaboration and not necessarily seeing that they are the roadblocks. He's asking us to see waste as something else, not as a waste, but to change our perspective and see that and also show others that possibility hidden in that. So I answer to your question in my understanding will be yes. Then there is another question asked by Nishant. On ideological level, how do you see the balance of putting reforestation against the agriculturalization of natural areas?
That's, I mean, perhaps to do with the question of population, but different areas need different activities, that's for sure. The top of Auroville, the top of the hill should really be forest and scrub. The upper lands should be like big sponges. And down below you've got agriculture. But I think there's a new type of agriculture that's got to come too. And if you do proper sort of intensive organic agriculture, permaculture, food forests, then it's something else rather than broadacre monocropping. I'm not sure whether that's the answer, but you look at the land will tell what it wants to, what it should be. But we need trees. And it was yesterday with the Environment Forest Secretary that they want to increase the forest cover of Tamil Nadu. I think it's by 5% in the next years. And that's interesting. And also only with indigenous trees. Okay, you've got agroforestry. You've got, we do need fiber, and we need fruit, and we need, but there's wild areas too, and it's those wild areas that should be maintained, and that particularly in the hills. You can get the disasters of some of the plantations because that water's got to stay high in the watershed, in the water tanks. Hills, mountains are water tanks. Ecology is really the conversation between the top of the hill and the estuary. That it's all about flow, and we all live downstream. So you've got to be careful what you plant and what you don't plant. But trees can come everywhere. The trees of Tamil Nadu, they have such a lot of properties. There's 400 plants in our area alone that are used still for medicine. So it's a complex thing. We're bringing back ecosystems. Don't just bring back monoculture forests or monoculture agriculture.
All right, there are a few more questions, one or two. There is a one from Neeraj, which is, I think, asking for some motivation. One question, sir, I want to ask, how can we take a small initiative so that I can help our environment? I want to work for the sake of nature. Any small step I'm willing to do. You have any quick response to that, Josh, because it is asked to you?
Not really. Look, my friend, the first thing to do is look at what everybody's doing and do the opposite. That's one thing. And that means it'll reveal itself. Look at your, as I said, your streets, your nearby pond, your lake, whatever, and just see what, with some friends perhaps or alone, just see what could be there. And look what young people do. I mentioned Greta Thunberg before. I mean, what better example, yeah? But what young, or Mamalia, I mean, it's the young people that are going to pull this one off in the end. Be courageous. Be courageous, because the old people, they're waiting for you to do that. But you can do it. Just find something small, and just do it. It might be in your own house. Might be in the, it'll get to be something wonderful, and you'll get all the help you need, and don't give up.
Great. So there is another question, which there is a one person, and we will have to close it because the next speaker is also there. There's a one question from Kumareshwari. He says, very inspiring session, and they love you. Please do share the challenges you faced and support you received from the community when you developed Adyar Punga.
From the community, meaning, yeah, it was a huge a huge effort by a lot of people. It was not just Pachandagara, or just not the Auroville groups. Many people from Auroville participated, but ecological groups in Chennai, they kept the thing very clear. There were even court cases to make sure it was done right. There were committees of all the top botanists of Tamil Nadu making sure we planted the right species. It was, and citizens groups, we had friends of the Adiaponga. It had its complications, but perseverance is important. And I think I explained that if you do get into doing a project, it's not like building a building and you put up screens around it and then one day, have a grand opening. We didn't do that. We had this, we invited the public to comment on the plan we had. And we had big books of comments that we listened to. And the government itself, thought this was a great project and regularly came to see it. And Mr. Stalin used to walk around the park with me, and I think he understands what the coastal flora is, and it was fun. And so from the top down to the local people, it was good, the time of, there were challenges after the park was open because the government changed, but now it's come back again. These challenges are sometimes quite big, but again, perseverance. Perseverance is an interesting quality. And we learned that in Auroville in those early years when the sandstorms used to blow and you think, what are we doing here? This is insane. But we kept going and chased the goats away from our trees. And now we've got this big forest that we can sit in, and I can sit in and talk to you. Persevere.
Great. Thank you very much, Joss. And I think we will have to close the session now because in the interest of time, next speaker is also here. There are some questions. Joss, there are still few questions. If you feel like, depending upon also your time and interest, if you feel like seeing some of the questions, they are for you, last 3-4 questions. And if you feel like responding to them by chat box with you and your team members, help anybody, however you feel. Or if you people, those who have asked the question, if you would like to write to him, the email ID is there on the website. The website is mentioned here also in front of you. Very simple. Even if you just Google Joss Pachandikulam Auroville, you will get his email ID. Because we have to now move on. We have 2 more speakers and our internal assignment work, which will take some time. So I hope this is fine for the people, those who have asked questions. And thank you very much. Joss, thanks again. Thank you very much for joining. It was very, very amazingly inspiring as usual.
Thank you, Ladi. Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Take this off now.
So we are back, and after this quite refreshing session, I would like to invite Mansee to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Sunil, who is also here.
Thank you, Lalit, and thank you, Joss, for such an inspiring journey that you shared with us. As you rightly mentioned, a lot of things here, from sacred groves to even going to the point of doing green activism, and it was good to hear from you about green activism and green politics. I want to share with you that I'm part of the Green political party in this country. And I do encourage people to join that. So it was really encouraging from you to learn how you also say that it is important to work with the government apart from working with the community, because most of the resources lie there. So I will just skip most of the summary. I have made huge notes for myself. But for me, the key take is, be active and just do something. Doing something itself is enough Even if you don't know to do something, just dream about it and you will find the path. I think that's an important line for all of us to uh, embrace for yourself. Rather than asking somebody what I can do, you have to really ask yourself what I can do and what I am able to do. With these lines, I thank you again, and I invite our next speaker on the talk today. And we have with us Sunil Baban Suryavanshi. So right from an Englishman, we come to our very own village person. Mr. Sunil Suryavanshi is at this moment is the village Sarpanch of Bhandawali Teldara, which is in Taluka Man and in district Satara from Maharashtra. He is going to talk about drought to development, and we have a little bit different format for his presentation here. Sunil ji बात करेंगे basically दोनों language में, और I will be your translator for English for the English version. But मैं एक छोटा सा I will put some introduction for him. When this village and the entire district got transformed from drought to development, I guess Sunil ji was that time sub sarpanch and now he is the sarpanch. तो उन्होंने पानी फाउंडेशंस के साथ भी काफी सारा पूरा इनिशिएटिव हुआ है, जिसके थ्रू सुनील जी को काफी हेल्प भी हुआ है. बट मोर इम्पोर्टेंटली पूरा गांव जो साथ में आया है काम करने के लिए, वो ज्यादा जरूरी है ये यहाँ पे इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे रखना. मैं पहले एक 2 मिनट का वीडियो प्ले करूंगी टू शो व्हाई दिस प्रोजेक्ट इज इम्पोर्टेंट, बिकॉज वी ऑल नो दैट इंडिया lies in the village. We are also talking about 73rd, 74th Amendment, and it is very close to what we talk about Swaraj. And a classic example of Swaraj itself is Pondicherry, Auroville and Pondicherry area, which we appreciate so much. But trust me, there are these mini Swaraj all over the country. We just need to see them. And in my lecture, I'm going to tell you why all those other little Swaraj do not get that limelight as Auroville gets it. That is part of my talk, but I like to present the 2-minute video to highlight कि ये इस village देखना क्यों जरूरी है, ये लोगों को जानना क्यों जरूरी है, क्योंकि ऐसे initiatives हर village, हर गांव में, हर शहर में हो रहा है. अगर आप लोग कुछ डायरेक्ट नहीं कर पा रहे हैं अपने शहर में, you can simply go to these villages, document them and share it to the world. That is a big contribution to the society. Give them voice at the national level and international level, which is one of the things which Pani Foundation did, by the way. So I'm going to present that video to you. Allow me to present that. Do I have the permission, Lalit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. सुनील जी आप हैं ना यहाँ पे? आप प्लीज थोड़ा बोलेंगे? हाँ सुनील जी. Sunil Suryavanshi. Did you see his name?
I mean, I am not able to see Sunil. Sunil is not there.
Okay.
Maybe with some other name or other phone. This I can't
I
make
will
out.
just check. I will just check from him. Meanwhile, I will play the video. But
Yeah, go ahead.
I think you will have 2 sounds if I am checking from him and then playing the video.
Go ahead.
Do you hear it? Are you hearing it?
It is paused now. You go ahead.
Hear it?
No sound as of now, but the video is going ahead.
Okay, I will share the sound. Wait, I will share the sound.
Now it's fine.
Do you hear now?
Yeah, fine. Okay.
Yes?
Yeah.
माझं एकच म्हणणं आहे, जिथे लोक एकत्र येतात तिथेच पाणी थांबतं.
पाण्यासाठी आमचं असतानाच गाव पाणीदार होतं, तरी आम्ही ह्याच्यामध्ये भाग घेतला आहे. ह्या कारणासाठी घेतला की आम्ही आसपासच्या आमच्या गाव आम्ही बघतोय की कशा पद्धतीनं पाण्यासाठी वन फिरतायत, किंवा विदर्भ मराठवाड्यातील कशी जनता असते, ती कशी दुष्काळानं होरपळलेली आहे, ह्याचा आम्हाला अनुभव आला. आणि त्यांची ती परिस्थिती बघून आम्हाला सुद्धा असं वाटलं की आपल्याही भविष्यात आपल्याला पुन्हा अशी परिस्थिती निर्माण होऊ नये, म्हणून आपण जे करतोय हे योग्य मार्गाने आपण चाललोय, ह्याच्यामध्ये आपण अजून काहीतरी चांगल्या पद्धतीनं काम करावं अशी आम्हाला प्रेरणा त्यातून मिळाली. तरुण पिढीच्या माध्यमातून कामाला एक चांगला आकार आणि उकार आला. त्या दिवशी जवळजवळ 531 श्रमदान करण्यासाठी ग्रामस्थ उपस्थित होते आणि त्याच्यातून आम्ही आमचं गाव चांगल्या पद्धतीनं पाणीदार करू शकतो.
ही चळवळ आमची अजून 5 वर्ष तरी थांबणार नाही. म्हणजे आम्ही पुढे 5 वर्ष तरी या पाणी फाउंडेशनच्या माध्यमातून वेगवेगळी कामं करू.
Okay, it was a short video just to show you that they won the award, second prize through the Pani Foundation, which runs competition for restoring water bodies and doing water harvesting and making villages more water sufficient. I see Sunil ji is actually in the field, and he had joined, and I think he has left because he is in this village which we are seeing in the photo. So I have my doubts, how do we get him there, because the network is already poor, and I think because we are running late in time. I will try to catch him again. I have left a message, but in the meanwhile, maybe then I start till he comes. What do you suggest?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. If that is the scene that then I think we take a 10 minutes or 5 minutes bio break, because that is a good idea. It's already more than an hour. Everybody is sitting, and we can come back as we have been doing for my session, right?
We take 5 minutes break. Is it fine?
Sure. Yes, it's fine. Yeah. Okay.
So
it will be a 5-minute break for all of us.
No, I'll just put the break thing.
And then I return with the session.
We are back. The pond behind me you see is one of the, this is from Kodur Lake. This is a lake within or nearby Auroville, some 10 kilometers or less. So many of us, we have been going for cycle round in these areas, nice places, quite green also. So sometimes we stop there and see how in different seasons, how the water levels have been fluctuating. They use it also for irrigation naturally in the surrounding area. This is from Kodur.
நான் டயர்டா தூங்கிட்டேன். ஏதோ ஒரு ஆக்டர் பேர் மட்டும் தெரியும். நான் திசையில நயன்தாரா அது மாதிரி.
Mansee, are you there?
Yes, I am there. Do you
Would you
hear
like-
me?
Yeah. I couldn't
Okay.
see. Yeah, I don't see you somehow.
Oh,
Or
but I am
maybe you are.
visible. I see you.
Okay, maybe you are in some other. You remove pin. Okay, it's fine. Just go ahead then.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Are you able to hear me? Am I audible?
But why don't I see you as a speaker's view somehow? Anyway, I don't know what.
Is it me?
And here I see Mr. Sridharan's. The screen is by Mr. Sridharan. There is, I don't know what is. Are other able to see?
Hello, Oppo. Hello, Oppo.
Okay. Mr. Sridharan's
I will
screen.
share the screen. Probably
Yeah,
you
now
will
I
see
see
that
it's fine.
then.
Now it is fine. Go ahead.
Do you see me now?
Yeah.
Do you see the screen?
Very much.
Okay. The full screen. Do you see the full screen?
Yeah, it's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Now I don't see anybody, and that makes it very difficult for me, to be honest. I wish to see people. How do I do
You
that?
can go to the
Anybody
view
knows it?
on the top right view.
As the pig.
View.
Yeah.
Where is the view?
You can exit full screen or top
All
right
right.
the view.
water bodies managing. Yeah, Joss is just speaking now. There's some other lady.
Yeah, are you muted?
Yeah, I am.
You are not on mute.
Yes, now that's okay. Is it fine now? Do you see the screen? I see
Yeah,
people now.
It's fine.
Okay. Is in the slide mode, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to start from the previous session, but because Sunilji is unable to make it, he was here for very short, but he has some issue in the village, so he has to attend to that. He was basically asking if he can come tomorrow and do the talking to all of us. We'll have to figure out if that is possible. So with those lines from him, I think I will take it further from here, but you can watch the entire endeavors of the Satara district, which is well known now. Students go there, summer schools happen there, design projects happen there, architecture and planning. So you can look at all the works there. I wanted to bring a point to you here, the difference between Satara and Auroville. As in why we know so much about Auroville and why we are not so much aware about the other localized level initiatives which are happening. There are two major things which I learned from this kind of initiatives which are happening, and they are happening everywhere in the country and in the world. The difference is the documentation and the dissemination. If you really want to share what you have learned and what you have gained experience in, you have to also make that extra effort to document and disseminate, so that people learn not only from the successes but also from the failures which were faced. Some questions were asked, what kind of challenges you faced in the community. So there have to be some people who are really working on these aspects as well. So doing things on the ground is very important, but also documenting and disseminating becomes very important. So giving voices to the local initiatives which has happened around the country is also a kind of work which you can take up. If you are a student, you can do it as a thesis, or a PhD, you can do the larger documentation, do comparative and cumulative analysis. If you are a teacher, you can take students to those kind of places. In fact, last night only I learned from a friend who was talking about that he took his students from Pune to document the Satara initiatives. So these are another ways of indirectly getting into empowering people, but also engaging yourself with what's going on. With these lines, I start from the last semester talking about understanding the community. That is the fundamental and basis of engaging. And I have already shared the book with you. I'm talking about it again and again because it will help you to see where is the community positioned, because it talks about all the well-tested and tried, failed and successful community, collectives. So under what circumstances community fails to come together, and under what circumstances community come together. It is all about community coming together, technology, other things, drawings, documentation, dissemination, everything will fall in place. And I have been saying this from day one of this course. So one of the important theory which has been most cited around the world, apart from the tragedy of the commons, is logic of collective action. Why do people come together to do something which is very typical of every place, and you have to really experience it by yourself? And that will also give you some clues why and how you can get people there. Why stressing upon this fact is that we are all partners in that crime. So I'm just taking recap from the previous session. And we need to change the development narrative amongst ourselves. We need to change the narrative, the way we look at the water body. We need to change the narrative, the way we look at the drought and flood itself. We also need to look at the way who does what, and we also need to talk about if somebody has an ownership of doing something, does that person also have the right to be arrogant about nature? A very simple example are this filling up of the water bodies. Is it right? And it has been systematically done over the time. By doing that, we not only take rights of other people who do not have that power to do these things, but also right of the other species. So we have to basically communicate with the society. And another thing which we are partner in crime in is the groundwater extraction. And this is exactly where we need to understand why we need to communicate with each other. A very simple example I provide to you is that I have seen more than 50 places in the country, in the lakes and ponds, where people are extracting groundwater to fill up the lakes and ponds. This is the biggest crime you can do to a water body. Just because we want to see the water body filled with water all the time, we take out the groundwater and fill it up. So please don't do it. We all do it as a collective decision. So I want to reinstate that collective decision does not necessarily mean the right decision. It is the most agreeable decision amongst the people sitting on the table at that time. So somewhere conscience is an important part. So I was also talking about it. I had just left you at this slide that if you really want to make it happen between the community, if you really want to get into the community activities, because that's where the crux lies. The crux does not lie in what to do on the lake. The crux lies in how to convince the local community, how to be part of them, how to walk along with them, or how to lead them also. So we need to establish common goal, commitment, compliance with what we commit, coordination between various actors, conflict resolution, conscience, common sense, and very importantly, communication, which is the pillar of all the above. So I'm going to quickly take you through these collective goals, which also I did talk about earlier, that we make institutions. So if our family members are in government, if our relatives are in government and in decision making and in politics and in NGOs, if you cannot really convince them, you have to learn the art on them first, then to go to the community. So we make institutions and we also make rules for how society should change. So it's very important to understand that me and we will go hand in hand, but of course we have to change our intent to doing things. So that's where perception change and all those things are important. A very good point made by Joss was school is a very good entry point, and that's where one school, one pond also becomes very fascinating, but personally for me as well, because how do you change the society? Let the children talk about these things. Change does not happen overnight. Joss has already worked for 40 years. We heard him. Change takes time. And ironically, many of the youth of today wants to do some input to today and wants the result tomorrow, and the output to be coming out tomorrow. It does not happen like that. You have to dedicate your life to some cause. And that cause does not have to be only water or lake and pond. We all have to read the SDG 6 very well. There are several targets in SDG 6, and you will be surprised. The target does not talk about ecosystem restoration of the lake and pond. So one of the ways you can actually participate now is to take a critical look at the SDG goals, because SDG itself has been brought to the SDG accelerator model, which means because we did not, as a global goal, we did not achieve the SDGs in 2020, now there is a SDG accelerator model. So some people have to really look into the SDG goal and look critically to see where we need to redefine the SDG goals itself. So a lot of talking is about access and provision of water, and not much talking is about its relationship with others. So I did also talk about those steps. How can you relate with SDG 6? An important step is actually to get community on board. At this moment, community is more man, and man. One of the ways you can really change the narrative is to just have half women on board. It will automatically start changing the narrative. Rest of the things we have already talked about it. So if somebody is really interested to work on SDG goals as their master's thesis or PhD thesis or bachelor's thesis, it's a very good contribution you can make to the national and international level. So a commitment. As you heard, Josh, for years and years, there are people who are working for never-ending time on the purpose they have found. I know in 2 weeks' time we cannot convince you to commit to these things, but you can at least do evaluation of the commitments which the country is making. You know, the evaluation which the local authority is making. So there are targets every year by the country, by the local authority. Maybe as a student or a participant, you can look for it. Are we achieving it? We need good monitoring. Again, I'm reflecting from what Josh was also saying. We do have good plans, good ideas, good dreams, which we want to implement. Unless and until we engage in monitoring of what's happening or evaluating what we did, we cannot improvise what we were planning. So it's a continuous process where you need to commit, but you need to evaluate, feedback, and then move further. One of the ways you can really engage is importantly looking at all the policies. This will not only empower you to know what policy I can exercise for my lake and pond, it is also to help the local authority and the national bodies to improve the policy itself. I give a very simple example of Tree Act. It's only last year there was a decision by the national government that they want to make so many urban forests. Not many of the people know it in the country at this moment. You can take that policy in hand, write a one-page memorandum, as Anand was also mentioning, then go and offer to adopt any barren patch of land or any dirty lake, and you can start working on it. So importantly, understand that there is not one policy where you can work on. There is not one program where you can work on. You are actually required to learn first about all of them and then commit to yourself. So commitment not only by you, but you can also check the commitment of the national and local level. Why I'm saying commitment at the national and local level, we really need watchdogs in the society. We really need community vigilance. We hire government to do some services for us. If we are not vigilant, how will our government servants serve us? If we are not asking what we want, how will the government servants serve us? So if you see yourself, citizen, as the person to rule the country, you really need to be aware and empower yourself to ask and, even command the government to do things in your way. For that, you need to be really focused and learned about what's going on. We have more than 70 policies, rules, and acts in the country which are directly or indirectly linked to lakes and ponds. I have listed them in my PhD in 2005. You can also start populating them. It will be probably more than 100 now. So this is one way you can use the Tree Act now, populate the lakes with the forest. I'm going to talk about it. Here is a very classic work done by one of the scholars. Now she is in WRI, but earlier she was in CSE, Center for Science and Environment. She has put all the policies here up to 2016. One of you may take it up as your master's thesis and start working on it and even analyze why, despite of so many policies, we are still not able to achieve our target of having good lakes and good ponds. You will find a pattern, what's going on. See, as an individual, I may not be able to do all of it. You may not be able to do all of it. But if you have taking it as a small course, you can work on it. These are national commitments. Policies are nothing but national commitments. You can come forward and check it. Are we achieving it? Where are the problems? The leading we have is National Lake Conservation Plan. You can thoroughly read it. And importantly, if you are making a lake document, which I am trying to give you in very simple formats, by the way, the NPCA, which is the National Plan for Conservation of Aquatic Ecosystems, which is our new policy for lakes and ponds in the country, which is amended from the National Lake Conservation Plan and the National Wetland Restoration Plan. It already has an inventory ready for you. So you really don't need a framework to study a lake or a pond, which I'm trying to simplify and give it to you as a translator between government and the community. So my job has been for last few years is to really make science simple for the society. This is one of the efforts in this course I'm trying to do. Because if it is too scientific, then people lose interest and people find it that it is too complex, I cannot handle it. But you can decode it, and there are people who can decode it. You can become a decoding person as well. So if you look at the NPCA document, it has already extensive inventory how to study a lake. What is good about that inventory? The inventory is important for you to submit a lake proposal to the local authority. That will be required. That's a precondition to really work on the lake project if you want to work with the local authority. Of course, you can find another way out, but if you really want to go methodical, if you want to go as the rule book says, you can prepare that inventory and give the health report card to the local authority, and then you can set up a target. From here, I'm going to reach there. It has very, very elaborate inventory list. Huge. You should have patience to fill it up, commit to that inventory. So either you work on the policy over time, over space, or you take one lake and dive into it and dig into it further, and you can still see the traces, how each policy changed the shape and identity and health of the water body. That's very much possible. Then as I mentioned, we have integrated water resource management as our leading framework. You can read through it and you can walk through it. And this is also which is part of the NLCP document. You have to see, are we committing to it? Are we working on it? It also has some pillars. It works on the ecosystem services framework, which we discussed in the value part. And then you can actually do an evaluation. This is a very good evaluation tool, which is now applied for to assess an effective water governance. Why I'm stressing on monitoring and evaluation? Because there are many people who want to commit to do. We need more people to commit to now check what is being done, to really give a feedback to the society, give a feedback to the government that this is right or this is wrong. There are different ways to do it. You can go the activism route, you can go the evaluator route, you can go the historian route, you can go even just as a researcher route. So if you take the IWRM framework and study a water body, you can also go further and talk about that these are the missing gaps in the work, and this is where then you can start looking at how I can involve. These words are important for you to engage. And it cannot be taught in 2 minutes or 5 minutes as I'm speaking. You have to read the document. It's a full document by itself and available in public domain. Then we have the integrated lake basin management, which is the foundation of National Lake Conservation Plan in the country. The whole inventory is based on the integrated lake basin management idea, and you better learn it. And it has not only the policy guidelines for what we have in the country. The moment you get into the integrated lake basin management principles and get into the ILAC site, which is International Lake Environment Committee, you get to learn a database of all over the world. You can pin your lake and write to ILAC and start documenting and giving them the information. So your lake and pond gets a world map, identity also. And this is how you start talking at the international platform, even if you are working on the remotest village, pond, or in the best lake in the metro city. So why I'm saying again about these things, that connections are very important, because if you get an identity for yourself, you are also motivated to give identity to the water body. Often it happens, many people want to work a lot on certain things, but they are unable to taste the failures. They want success at every step. I'm giving you those little things that may motivate you, and that may help you think that you are doing something good and you are connecting to people. Connections, community, communications are very important tools. This is how you have to do it. Reach out to ILAC, write to them. Mr. Nakamura is extremely friendly person who conceptualized the ILAC. Put your lake in the world map, do the database. They have the framework how you can do the database. That framework is advanced for India's National Lake Conservation Plan. So we have a better framework for our lake documentation because it is done afterwards. So it works on the 6 pillars of collaboration again. which talks about institutions, basically the policies and rules. It talks about community participation. It talks about technology. It talks about information sharing and information producing, and the funding mechanism. The funding mechanism today we have in the country is based on the ILAC model and the National Lake Conservation Plan, which talks about having 70% of money coming from the national government. You have to exercise it. If you want to go that route, you have to fill that form of NLCP, now NPCA. So if you have 70% money, if you want from the national government, 20% from the state government, and 10% the local government has to generate for its lake and pond. If you can help the local government generate and show the route of that 10% funding, which is required to maintain a water body, that local government will be encouraged to file to get the remaining 90% funding for the lake. This is the background story, and these are the governing, governing aspects which you need to learn. So if you are committing to a water body, one water body, you can also go this route. But you can also commit to studying more water bodies, studying, studying policies and all. The compliance, again, your monitoring is required. You are very much required as an active citizen, as a vigilant citizen, what's going on. If we have now 20 years of National Lake Conservation Plan, which has a new name, have we achieved the targets? You will be surprised to know that the project updation, the evaluations are no more available on the websites. You can ask for it. RTI is a very good tool for you to really get an update. Mind you, unless and until we become a vigilant society, we will not get what we want to achieve. You heard from previous speakers also how Anand was talking about, and you heard from the video of Piyush Manush, the work which can be completed in 30 lakhs, take 30 crores and 3 crores when it happens through the government. If it is the case, then we have all the more reason to find out where have we reached in the aims and objectives of the policy and the projects which were formed. So every city is obliged to actually apply for funding and apply for these initiatives. If the local authorities don't apply, they don't get funding to do the lakes. You will be also surprised that we do not have an updated budget of lakes and ponds in the national website also. Ask for it, write for it. So if we really get a little bit more transparency on it, we also learn how they can comply and how we can comply. One, I'm just talking about the physical aspect of it, but these headlines are also for you to really commit to yourself, comply but by what you commit. So that's the spiritual side of it, but I'm showing you the technical side of it, that these are the areas where you are required, so there is a target. If there is a target by the MOEFCC, we should really find out and help that target to be achieved. Go to the local authority, show that this is the target, I can help in doing that. You will be also surprised, there's no municipality or corporation in this country which manages to use all its funds. So a good time to go to the local authority is to really from December to March, and we come with your memorandum of understanding or your project proposal and tell them that I'm here to do this lake or this pond, and let me just follow the rule of the law, the rule of the land, and I will help develop or take care of one of the lake and pond. So now this adoption and of the lakes and ponds is also very implicitly, not directly, is available in the country, as in you take care of it. The maintenance adoption is possible. So you have to exercise through the rule book. So for that, you need to know the rule book, So we do have to look for how command, control, and continuum process is happening. Often it happens when the leadership in the local authority changes, the project changes, the program changes, the approach changes. If you are there as a thread in your local region, you can keep a track of what's going on. You can really make sure that the work is in progress. And that is one of the reasons why we have not really succeeded in having a continuous, maintenance of these water bodies. Most of these water bodies in this country only require maintenance. They do not require any development, by the way. So if you can just jump into the maintenance train, it is better than jumping into the development train. So do look at what kind of control and command each of these laws and policies have, what kind of things your local community can control, what kind of things as citizens you can command, you can ask for, you should know that. So basically it's about rights. You have to also be persistent in working on a project. This is also expected from the government, and that's why as citizens we need to be a little bit more vigilant. Coordination. If you commit to one water body, you can eventually become a very good coordinator. And I know few people in this, in my acquaintances, where they are just connecting people, just connecting right people to right officials, right person to the right agency, right contractor to here and there. And they're doing their own practice simultaneously. So you can take it as a side profession also. Coordination is the most important thing in any collective action after communication. And communication is the pillar of coordination. Without communication, coordination does not happen. If you can really help develop the email system of your local authority, trust me, you already did even the lifetime work for a local authority. You hardly receive any email back from the local authorities. Why can't you really just go and ask them? Why can't you help develop a lake monitoring cell, and which we have done in Indore, and I'm going to share that as part of my 5th session. So conflict resolution. If you are committing to a lake, if you are complying with what the local authority wants, if you are complying with the local policy or national policy, you will be also coming up in a situation where you have to resolve conflicts between the communities, resolve conflict between community and the government. I had this experience also in Ajmer case. So you can become a very good connector. If you are not able to see what can I physically do to the water body, I'm giving you options, what can you do otherwise as well. And this is also a physical being. Huh? So if you really find out that you can become a very good jointer between different stakeholders, you already do the job. Establish a database. You saw how app was being developed. If you're good in those kind of things, you can become the most efficient person in connecting people. I'm raising conflict resolution as an important tool of collective action because much of the projects fall apart when there is a single smallest conflict comes up. These conflicts are often because of the miscommunication or lack of communication. So if you can set up a communication system in the local authority between the government organizations, as we saw, and between the government and the people, I think that's a very big contribution. Of course, you have to work on these kind of things. There has to be funding required. You have to be really knowing where is the corruption in water bodies. Most of the corruption in water body is actually in excavation and in construction. If you can write about it, if you can ask about it, if you can file an RTI to ask how much money is there for the construction, how much money is left for the ecosystem, what is their maintenance plan. If you know the policy of the country, like the distribution of national, state and local, you can actually help resolve a lot of conflicts which comes in the projects. Many of the projects which get stalled because of some cases which have been filed by some people, because of money getting over, because of problems with the contractor and the government, problems with the consultant and the government. So we are really looking in every office in this country, a small lake management cell, which is also approved under the National Lake Conservation Plan, but local authorities are yet struggling to establish that lake management cell. We have tried to do it in Indore. It is still functioning, but it is getting weak every day. But I think knowing Indore very well, it will continue and become stronger every day. So you are very much required to make noise about the wrong practices in lake development and management. So you see, your role is everywhere. It's just that you have to be wanting to do it. If you commit to it, an important part is that your conscience has to be in the right side. I give a very close to heart example all the time. We spend so much time, so much money in science and technology. Can we spend a little bit more on the underprivileged people who work on sanitation, who work on these, cleaning up the dirty things? who work on the solid waste management. If we can redistribute our funds, then we are actually better off. And if we can hire few caretakers for lakes and ponds, you can really ensure they are cleaner. We don't have caretakers for lakes and ponds. And those who are there, they probably are not paid well, or they are not so much interested. Take up that job as a volunteer. So you can really work with conscience. Conscience is the I think, underlying with communication. Channelize the funds. It is very important, as I mentioned, that most of the corruption happens in excavation and the construction part. If we can reduce that and go with the ecosystem approach, we are already actually helping the water body. So change common sense, change in the approach. Ask questions. If you really don't know what to do on the lake and all, just go with a pamphlet and ask people some uncomfortable questions. Why is it like this? That's also a very good contribution. Shake people, move people. That's important. Talk with them, walk with them, and just show them. Take a picture of your lake and show it to them. Willingness to accept and willingness to pay. Show them both. And Josh gave very good examples out of it. It is very important that you also start thinking very creatively and critically. But Josh was already giving example. Make beautiful representations, because that helps community to understand. Often community is in ignorance mode because they really don't know how to go ahead about it. Show them the light, show them the path. For that, we have to jump on it. We really have to jump into it. So from me to we can engage in various ways. Important is that we appreciate that water management, lake management, pond management is a complex system. Acknowledge that we are the problems. We have to come out of the house to solve it. That's very important. I think I will skip the example, which is already in your assignment. Sorry, not the example, but the assignment. Your assignment booklet is completely ready. You can download it and complete the assignment. You have been also given the template for the presentation on 10th. And I think that I will quickly take you through some of the initiatives which we have done to tell you the tricks, what you should do and what you should not do. And I'm also coming up with a little book on what you should not do on lake and pond management. Hopefully it should be out by Diwali. It's a very short book which I'm writing. So basic water discourse we talked about. So I'm taking a recap. We talked about the physical health of it. We talked about the actors and value. We talked about what kind of two main policies you can work on it, but there are more, as I mentioned. Learn them first, prepare yourself. It takes longer time to practice on ground. You can really expedite the work by learning from others' experience and others' mistakes and others' successes, which is the purpose of running this kind of course. So the video links of all the sessions are available for you. Urgently required is you first and foremost change the perception and preference of water body. Lakes and ponds as they are, just do not dirty them. That is what is required. Just appreciate the first picture which you see on the top, even if it is dry. This is the first and foremost thing which we need to do in the country. Our idea of having water all the year round is criminal. I'm using hard words very consciously, and I'm aware of what I'm talking about. Please go ahead and change first your perception and change community's perception. Learn to appreciate this as a beautiful ecosystem, then we have half the problem solved. This is really the most urgent thing we have to do in the country. Stop this transformation. This is not required. This is really not required. I wish I can cry, scream, and do whatever required in this country to tell everybody and anybody. I have reached out. This is my 65th speech on water this year, in 1 year. And I have been telling everybody, please stop these waterfront development projects in the country. Stop that transformation. And I'm saying it again on this platform. This is criminal. So if you can just change your idea of beauty, I think that's a big transformation and change in the society. First, change your idea and then change society's idea. I'm giving 2 examples here, and you are going to see the horrifying slide afterwards. This is a Gopi Talab in Dwarka in Gujarat. This is a Gopi Talab in Surat in Gujarat. The people of Dwarka in Gujarat, in the village pond, they want to have a lakefront. And by the way, they already have it now. The picture is from earlier. And they have already managed to pakka all around it. Do you think the problem is solved? No. So making pakka is not the solution. Instead, go and to the villages, because they are fancying this urbanization, seeing us in these TVs and all those beautiful medias, shows and all. Please reach out to villagers and appreciate them, what they have. This is also very urgent. Celebrate their resources with them. Else they will fancy the urban lakefronts, which we are trying to build, which are really not helping to solve our problems. Urban lakefronts are not doing anything unless and until it is encompassing the nalas and the drains along with it. Otherwise, it's just a beautification, like a cosmetic we buy for our beauties, So if you really cannot do anything for your pond in the neighborhood, just travel to the villages and tell them what a beauty they have. Then they will also change their perception and they will not try to mimic the urban areas. This is also required, by the way, outside water also. If we want to stop urbanization, we also have to do that for rural areas, that you have a better life than urban life, but just focusing on the pond itself. You have to go to the villages and tell them that they have a beautiful water body. Don't change too much. Don't make it all pakka. You don't need waterfront at all sides. Of course, you need a small space where you have to interact with the water. You really have to make this effort. Otherwise, we all are so enthusiastic about going and doing something on the ground. We do have labor force here. You have to make a pledge to yourself. Changing perception, run campaign, very importantly required. You are extremely required to run campaign. If you are short of ideas to run campaign, do reach us. I will be very happy to help you to run campaign. Then the best route to lake and pond restoration, whether village or an urban area, is waste management. Nothing more is required. Just avoid production of the waste at your house and avoid wastewater inflow into the lake and pond. This is the first and foremost thing required as a pledge, not only by me, by we as a society as well. Rest of the things are all happening in disguise. Beautification is a disguise. If you really want to go further and if there is really construction required, then go for wastewater treatment in urban areas where the wastewater is flowing into the water body. That's the foremost thing required for urban lakes. If you want to change anything in the urban lake, you just need to change the water quality. And we saw in the example with Anand was showing, you need to make the settling pond, you need to make construction wetlands at the mouth of the lake. You can plant small, treatment plant, primary treatment plant, and then have reed bed plants so that the water slowly seeps in and then gets into it. So if you really have this nagging desire to do something, develop and construct, just go ahead and help the local authority get into some wastewater treatment. That's required. A small ghat is, of course, you can have it for people, but that can be also, that is part of design, can be integrated. Engage with the local community in your initiative, announce and ask for help. The moment you go and say that I want to do this thing, people will follow you, trust me. People are all waiting for good leaders. People are waiting for local leaders, honest leaders. So these are the pledge I request you to take it. Aim, I think you must aim for a pond ecosystem than a lake ecosystem. That is something where I will stand by for the rest of my life. Do not aim for lake ecosystem. Aim for a pond ecosystem. Avoid aiming for a year-round water for us to see. Because if we use our common sense, if we are drawing 70 to 80% of water from the groundwater, why do we want water on the surface? This is very commonsensical. If the water is not seen on the ground, which means it has percolated into the groundwater, which you are already extracting. So this whole idea of having water all around the year is actually pushing us towards concretizing and hardscaping all around the water body. This is something which we need to change. So we need clean and green place. That's it. There is nothing more required. This is from Anupam Mishra's book, which is provided to you. And he explains in a very subtle and humorous way. And Joss was also talking about it over and over again today. Embrace the wilderness. Even if it means no-go area, for humans. I have added that line from my end. I think we need to leave some space even in the cities for other species. If it is an ephemeral water body, which is a temporary water body, we may actually accept doing afforestation even on the water body. Have a wilderness in the water. So urban forest is now a national agenda. So if you think that water coming is a problem, you can even look for making it a swampy land or a wetland and even work on it. You just need to clean the plastic and garbage out of there. You don't need to do desilting and edging and deepening. Have the water body for all. So I'm showing an example from a project where people are just asking me to file a PIL, by the way, again and again. Based on this work which is taken up by the local government in Ahmedabad, I am actually motivated to write the book which I am right now writing, what not to do in lake management. So even if something wrong has happened on the ground, it gives you motivation, it gives you drive to do something. So this is a lake just 10 kilometers from my house where I take students to teach lake management on the ground. I took them to 2018 and 2019, and I just went this Sunday. There was hardly any water in this water body. What happened? Dredging and deepening and lakefront is coming up. So in the book, I'm trying to really talk about how not to do dredging, deepening, and desilting. And we can look for alternatives of urban foresting. Why urban forest? Because if you have the local species growing in that wetland, it will become as urban sponge, which we all fancy as urban sponge, as a hollow word. Actually, it can become a kind of a soft land, which can seep in water into the ground and make you really recharge the ground. Our aim for lake restoration has to be very clear and loud to all of us that we want to recharge the groundwater. We do not want a lakefront to see. If you change this aim, I think half of the job is done and we will be successful. So I'm not so much in favor of dredging, desilting, and deepening as a scientific tool, but if it has to be done, it has to be scientific. Why? Because if you want to save lakes, there are two things to be saved: soil and the vegetation. Nothing more, nothing less. So soil restoration is very important. You must consult somebody before you start digging, before you making those edges and all. It's a very scientific process. If you don't believe in science, but then at least use the local wisdom. That will be also helpful. You will always see that the ponds are coming like this, very shallow. And then you will see the soil is exposed and then this little green on the edge and then the water. That's the best thing you can have. It can happen to a water body. That soil which is exposed is the breeding ground, mating ground for all the animals, water animals and the birds and all which come. So you have to really work. These are part of my book work, which I'm sharing with you. And the bottom, I'm showing two projects where we are working and how we failed to convince our clients not to have the solid or hardscape edge. So I'm not saying that everything is rosy and doable, but the least I can do is just withdraw from the project, which actually I did, by the way. But this is a common practice to have a hardscape in the large scale master plans, because the idea is to store water without realizing that the water is to go to ground water. Why people want to store water on the surface, you also need to understand. And this is where we are all partners in the crime. Because if I let the water get into the groundwater, I do not have the complete command over it. That's why I want to store in the surface water. But I want to draw groundwater from others' rights. This is where we need to change and bring the conscience. So no fancy to too much of ghat. This is from Mulsur Lake proposal, which is coming up. Please try to find some kind of balance. We do understand in the olden time when Udaipur and all these things had hardscape, we need to understand that they had hardscape and ghats at a very small stretch of the lake and rest of it was wilderness. But now when we see that edge and we fancy that is beautiful and it is helping maintain the lake, we forget to see the 95 and 90% of the lake edge where it was softscape and which was the only place. The ghat used to be the only place for interface of human. And that is, I think, a very good balance. So be careful about designing of the water body with hardscape and softscape. If you can really decode a percentage of hardscape and softscape, I think you win it. Importantly, learn your local species. Very important. Make your own a list of local species, and not too fancy. Joss has already said that fancy species are not required, especially vegetation. It also changes the ecosystem. That's why it is not required. Reclaim the drains. The life I have been saying from point one, session one till now, and I will say it until the rest of my life. Without reclaiming the drains, if you do 100 things, 1,000 things, million things on the water bodies, we are going to continue to suffer restoring the water bodies. So if you do not have anything else on any Sunday, if you can take 10 friends and just clean the drain. If you are unable to plant trees, no problem, just throw your house seeds there and things will change over time, trust me. We are trying to do that, not successful, but we all have to join hands and continue doing it. Do something, just do something is also a move you can take. Just go with friends and just clean the lake. So I'm just showing what all things you can, little things you can do, but document and direct. Teachers and also senior members who are learning, please go to schools and tell all these things which you are learning through this course. And of course, whatever local wisdom you have, the more you tell people what is not right and what is right, I think it is better. And you also expand the knowledge system, and then some people will take decisions. So please document whatever little thing you do and direct the future generations into the right direction. Very important, very, very important. Then of course you disseminate. This is what I was talking about from the Indore lake. Before we even reached the lake, before we could even clean the lake, it took more than 1.5 years to convince the local community through different deliberation process and things like that. And we documented everything. And then local people with the local authority helped maintain the lake and clean the lake. And it is still maintained. Local lake conservation authority is formed. It is there now. And then also documented. I published 2 chapters out of it. So this is, I think if you get into one lake, it takes more time, but then you have to complete the entire thing from all these 9 C's, which I was talking about, from commitment to communication. And then you also talk about documenting and dissemination. This is where Auroville is known to the world. Apart from, of course, all the spiritual aspects which they talk about, but everything done is very well documented and shared, disseminated with people, because then you learn from the successes and failures. So you have to do that. You cannot rush away from doing things. Write, and speak to people as much as you can. So nurture people, mentor people as much as you can. Nowadays, you have all the mediums to mentor that. This is the first time I have 3 students who worked on lakes, and I was more than happy that I have achieved my this year's goal, because I could change 3 people's perception to look at water bodies, because they were with me for 6 months. So these are little steps you have to do. Give a shout to people. You have social media. Just yesterday only I engaged with people's communication. I don't know the person. She is a local authority in Kolkata. And they were talking about taking this wetland on doing something. And I gave them an idea. Of course, it is contested, but I was talking about why not grow this forest, and shared with them all the national documents and rules and things like that, that these are the tools which you can use to look at what you can do. So these are little things which you have to really do if you want to take care, share and preach as much as you can. Go on call, go on awareness, go on campaigns. You are very much required. Activism is very important. So it is close to my heart. I don't do it so much, but you can actually do some shout, both on how a lake pond is developed, study it properly, read the rule book of the country, read the laws, and how it is not developed. Just last week, 2 girls who are, I think, studying in one university architecture course, girls, they have put a PIL against one of the lakes in their neighborhood that they want it to be developed. So I'm reaching out to them to really first change their perception of development, but just to show you the route, that this is also a way that you can engage with the water bodies. So if water is life, then when designing, why do we treat it like that? When are we going to provide it a status of living being? This is the most important work we need to do legally, socially, politically today in this country. Give identity of water to the water body as a living being. We read from New Zealand, it happened few weeks ago. We are now seeing in a couple of states in the country where devolution of power has happened. So baby step has been already taken. Rajasthan was the first to empower local municipalities and gram panchayats to really take charge of the funding to do lakes and ponds. Then we read from Karnataka a few weeks ago that all the lake and pond rejuvenation projects needs decentralization. So things are happening, but all these things will come more, at the forefront the moment we really fight for the right of its existence as a living being. We are not. We are still working on it for our own appropriation. We have to give it a status of living being. Unfortunately, in the Constitution, that provision is still not there. So if you can really work, if you're a good legal person, please go ahead and work on it. This is the most important contribution you are going to make in the country since independence on the lakes and the ponds. Give them an identity as a living being. So that brings me to the last point. If you are unable to do any of these things which we have been talking about, at least say no to some kind of projects which compromises flora and fauna. Trust me, if you don't do it, it also saves the work. It also saves the lakes and the ponds. Not doing anything in the lake and pond is the biggest contribution you can make. The only thing is that we consider littering as not doing. Actually, littering itself is part of doing. It is a wrongdoing. So if you think that I am not able to work on the lake and you are not littering the lake, or your wastewater is not getting into the lake, you are already engaging with that water body by not polluting it, giving it room to grow by itself. And this, not many people are going to tell it to you, and I don't mind saying this: say no to lake development. It is very important. I know I will be not liked at many platforms when I say like this, but trust me, ecosystem and water knows to self-rejuvenate. We are not required to develop them to rejuvenate. And with these things, words, I think I am done with both the sessions, Lalit, 5th and 6th. Sorry, I went a little ahead so that we can escape the extra classes. Yeah. And I will stop here.
Thank you, Mansee. It was quite comprehensive. So we ask people if they have any questions, any clarification at this stage. How would you like? They just unmute and
yes, I will
forward.
take questions also for assignments, and we need to also talk about the final presentation. I have to see who all are present and who have submitted. I have the list who have presented, who have submitted already. So those of you who are registered participant, please know that you have a provision of, you are empowered to actually present your work. It does not have to be a complete finished work, but you can also tell what is the water body about, what you plan to do, what local people are doing, what are the challenges you have. You have been given a very simple template of 6 slides. So we want to go a pecha kucha style of presentation. So everybody gets a 6 minutes to speak, which also means we need to have the PowerPoint in advance. By 12 o'clock, all these instructions are provided to you via WhatsApp, via Classroom, both in the stream and in the classwork. So if you send us your presentation by 12 noon on 10th, we are going to put them in one PowerPoint so that I can run it for you, and you will be getting 6 minutes to speak about it. I know it is less, but it is more about, pitching what you want to do. If you can do that pitching, and you can tell what kind of help you need. I think now we are a big family here. We can all come forward to help you, in future. So our association actually will start from here rather than ending from here. So with these words, I would like to take questions if you have any from here. Yeah. Yes, Lalit.
They have to come forward if they have any questions.
Yes. Any questions for my presentation or assignment or 10th presentation or your lake or pond for all the 5 sessions, because today we complete all the theory classes and all the speaker classes. And I see 2 beautiful children with Anu. Yes, Anu. Hi.
Hi.
Oh,
Hi,
get them to
Mansee.
the lake. Hi, Anu.
Yeah, no, nothing. I started working on the presentation. I just wanted to know, I couldn't see anyone else's presentation in the drive. I don't know whether I'm doing it correctly. So instead of like, as I do it, how do I save it? Or
No, you have been given a PowerPoint, right? With 8 slides.
yes.
Yeah, you have to work on the 6 slides and give us the 6 slides. Submit it in the classwork.
Okay.
Okay.
On the classwork. Okay. Okay. I'll do
So
it.
your classwork, your name is there. You will submit it. So we will see it. We will just copy paste it and put it there as one. You don't need to bother about the dynamic document of presentation. You just work on the 6 slides and give it to us.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
That will be easy, because I was keen that we all work on the dynamic page, but I see people are having challenges in working on the dynamic page. I usually work in that format with when I'm teaching at school, at colleges. But then we have a full semester, so I have more time to clarify and all. So dynamic page is very time efficient, but if we cannot handle it in 2 weeks, you please complete your 6 slides and give it to us. So the thumb rule is that the person who submits first is going to present first on that day. So it's, by the time of the submission. And we will make sure that everybody gets to present. We do have our guest of honor as a closing ceremony. We have a Padma Shri, only Padma Shri person who got it for lake rejuvenation in this country. You can find out, but I keep it surprise for everybody. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so everybody, I think Anu had a good question that you have the PowerPoint slide template in the stream as well as in the classroom, because I didn't know where our participants going to see. Just work on the 6 slides and send it to us, upload it in the classroom. So class assignment 2 is about final presentation. Class assignment 1 is about the essay. You can complete the essay when you want to. Importantly, you will see in the last slide, there is a pledge and the plans. What do you pledge to do? And what are your immediate plans where you can really ask what kind of help will you require from this community? And one of the pledge I'm making is that I will be very much on call for all of you to help in any way possible, even to connect people from anywhere in the country for your lake rejuvenation project. Okay. This will become my extended arms. So yeah, please fill the last.
Hello.
Last
Hi.
slide. Yes.
This is Prabha.
Yes.
Can I
Yes,
ask?
Prabha.
Yeah. Okay. So I
Yes,
just wanted
please.
to check. We are, of course, struggling with getting a lot of the information that is needed. I hope we will get more in time over today, tomorrow. But in case we don't manage to, then perhaps I can let you know on Saturday morning, and then maybe you can choose to not include my presentation in the main series of events that you have. That's fine. Is that all right? Because that's
yes, all right.
I don't get enough information, right?
Sorry.
No, but
you don't have to fill 6 slides.
Okay.
You don't have to fill 6 slides. The 6 slides are guidelines. You
okay.
know, for people to see. You are, imagine that you are walking talking to a minister on a walking corridor or an IAS officer. You need to know how to speak your project in 3 minutes. That's your tool. Okay, so on that day, I will encourage you to present. Even if you have less information, you can always leave it that I am fishing this information out.
Okay.
Completely understandable that people are starting from scratch and suddenly in 2 weeks, you are requested to look for so much of information.
Sure,
of course
sure.
not.
Okay.
But make an attempt and leave the places hollow. It's okay. At least that you will require this information, right?
Yes.
That's important for us.
Fair enough.
Yeah?
That's fine.
So
then.
you can just leave it.
That's fine then.
So
That's
I
all.
will encourage to present no matter how much you do. Okay.
All right, that's fine. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
And yeah. And this is actually an abstract, a summary of what the essay you are requested to write. So presentation is just a short summary, as we all usually do in academics. You know, you make a big essay or thesis, and then you present in your defense. So we are not having defense. We are going to celebrate that day and find out how we can collaborate in future to work with each other and help each other. So you should consider already that you have a team of 30 people behind you for your lake initiative. So go ahead, go Prabha, go. So it's like that.
I just hope somebody can go with me over today and tomorrow as well and send me some information. That will be wonderful.
That will be good. Ask for it. You guys have to communicate.
I have actually. I'm just hoping that somebody will respond. Thanks.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else has questions for the assignment, for any of the talks, for any of the lake issues, and for the 10th presentation?
Sorry, Mansee, I have another one.
I see a lot of questions. Yes, please go ahead.
Sorry.
Nobody's asking, so you can go ahead.
Okay. No, you had given us 2 assignments. The one, the lake that we appreciate,
Yes.
that one, that we will be presenting that also. Both.
No, there is a small section in your presentation. That what do you take away from that? Because if you remember the document which is being given as an essay, where you write 3 components: basic information about the water body. The second component, you write what do you like about the water body, and the third component, you write what are the elements of that water body which you may like to take up in your lake study. And I think that component is added for the 10th presentation.
Oh,
so you
sorry,
can
I
say
didn't
that
see.
I studied this as a case study, and these are the important things which can be translated or adapted to the work which I am taking up as my project.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'll do that.
Okay.
Mansee, Anushri is making a suggestion if you can share the template right now.
Oh yeah, that's a very good idea. I will do that. I can do that.
And there are some other 1 or 2 questions for you in the chat box. You can have a look.
Yes, I will take that. So let me take those. If somebody can read out the questions till that time, I will open the template. I think that's a very good idea. Okay. Okay.
There is a one from Shweta. She's asking about how about certain trees sucks up water bodies. How can we prevent that sort of trees from being a threat to the water bodies?
Yes, a very good question. Gum Arabic trees ruin many places in the Raman district of Tamil Nadu. People are trying to eradicate it, but it is really difficult. I think we also have Ganda Bawal here in Gujarat, and which has gone to Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. So a very valid question, but you have to also understand, Shweta, that like human beings, trees also consume a lot of water, nearly 70 to 80% as we do. So if X species is more invasive, Y species are also going to take water. But we have to understand the difference between we consuming water and tree consuming water. So no matter which tree you grow, more trees means less water in that area. But the good sign is that the tree is holding water for both evaporation, transpiration, as well as for percolation. So if you have invasive species, there are also, good ways to get rid of it is actually doing seed ball throwing. If you try to remove all of the invasive species from ground, which is also possible and which has been tried at many places, but then there will be few of them left. If you try to remove them or unplug them, you have to monitor them and redo the same process very frequently, which is also preferred now and recommended. Another way is that you can go for quick treatments which are available with the agriculturists. So I may not be the right person to tell you what is exactly another antibody for that tree which you are mentioning, but there are possibilities available. But again, as a village or as a community, you can take the decision in two phases, I will suggest. One is that you just unplug them as a community initiative, like these people in Satara or even you saw in Auroville, they were cleaning up. So that can be a clean drive. Remove them once, have the seed balls thrown there, then you have to repeat the process. If you can repeat the process 5 times, 10 times, depending on the hardiness of the variety, I think you can really get rid of them in no time, in less than 1 or 2 years probably. But it has to be consistent effort, you know. Okay, another I will share now. Please confirm when you see the screen, okay? So there is another question here. Okay, certain trees, then insightful. Stormwater management runoff from catchments to water bodies need to be addressed in an urban area. 9 points on pollution is more. Yes, please do throw some light on it. Yes, I think it's a very important point, and we often talk about this non-point pollution. How do we stop it? We have to reduce industrial production is one part. Another part is actually we can be a little bit more noisy about industrial sector to treat their water. As a mandate of this country now, every industrial sector is supposed to have a CETP not only at a unit level, but also at a collective level. So know that, and also know that you can also make noise. A lot of PILs and RTIs are filed. So activism is the last route, but it is an important route for people to really behave in certain manner. So either you work to clean it up, or you just make noise about it. You know, we just wrote a letter, and you can write good letters and signature campaigns. These are very powerful tools. We underestimated them as citizens. We recently wrote a kind of suo motu letter to the High Court judge and the Chief Minister, some of us in Ahmedabad, against 10 industries that they are not treating their wastewater and dumping it into the natural drainage and the lake. I don't know whether we will be successful or not, but at least we tried. So we have to find out ways. There is no one way to deal with all these things. But if you can really go and convince them and give them alternatives, there are very good ecosystem approach to even treat industrial wastewater at the point source before it comes to the lake. If they are not willing to do it, can you become the connector to collaborate between them and the drainage authority or the local authority to make some constructed wetland on the route? Grow beautiful water plants, which can not only get rid of the smell, which can also treat the water bodies. So it's all about now, you're just getting into the action there. Okay, so it is possible. And most spiritual part of it is that we all have to reduce our consumption, change our buying habits so that industries grow less. Of course, this goes against the way we are, trumping our economic way. And we have to question that as well. The whole development discourse needs to be questioned. But I have a lecture coming up on de-development somewhere in Kerala. So I will share with you the link when I do that. Why de-development is the new economy and entrepreneurship waiting at the doorstep of India. So I'm going to talk about it with more information to you. So pollution is the knocking door for de-development. Okay, so do you see the screen? So here is your final presentation screen. Lalit, please confirm.
Yeah, it's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, so as you see the first page, it is already mentioned that we are going to have it like this. Leave this page, do not include this page in the submission. We are all working on one file, which means I'm going to put all of them together at one place. So it stays as it is. This is the second page. ECI team is going to work on it and put your name and location. The sequence of this will be based on your submission time in the classroom. That's that. Here you start working. So you start working from the slide number 3, where you talk about the background of the water body. Put some pictures on the right side. I have given you font height and all these things because we want to go as a beautiful presentation, as if one family is making a presentation. So you can put your name at the bottom. Then you can start talking about basic information of the water bodies, its opportunity, its challenges, what kind of things are going around and so on. Then we are actually going by the lecture sessions. So you first talk about the biophysical health of the water body, what it is there, what kind of issues are there. You talk about the area, you talk about depth, you talk about the fauna and flora which are available there, and you just make a basic description of it. So this is more descriptive. You can make some pictures. Then the next part is talking about the value, how it is taken by the society, what is the perception of the society, how society is using it at that moment. Often we do not consider squatting and solid waste dumping as a value. I want to correct everyone here that that itself is a use of the water body. You may not like it, but it is a use. So we have to, wastewater flowing itself is a use. So come with the list of whatever way the water body is getting used or not used or can be used, and the health of the, if you can get hold of the health report card from the Pollution Control Board, very good. Otherwise, you can also bring some, newspaper articles or whatever you get hold of. How it is complementing and conflicting the natural ecosystem as we dream and envisage. You should make your own statement here, because all our speakers have been talking about ecosystem approach. Then you should be able to find out some names who can be really reached out. It's for you, but you can really present it in this manner that these are the people involved, these are the local authorities, these are the organizations, they have come forward. Who are the CSR agencies who are interested? If anyone has done in CSR in your city, come with that. How they are interlinked, how you can connect with them can be brought in the network of actors. So we have actually done all the sessions from my end in these subheadings itself. Then you can put some policies which are in place, if not directly applicable to your lake at this moment, but you can also present that this is a useful policy or tool. As I mentioned to you, the NLCP. Without NLCP, you are really not going ahead with the law of the land. So you can make a little description how NLCP tool or which component of NLCP can be make use of it here, or you can talk about the Tree Act. So if everybody writes 2 or 3 policies, we already have the list of policies here by all of you. So it can be a collective work. We are all going to share all your lake information made in one file to all of you. So you please invest 6 slides and you may get 30 or 60 slides. I don't know how many people submit. Then levels of action. So how many people you come across, how many policies you come across, and at what level they are applicable. This is from our project photo I was showing. To make this treatment plant and to put this artificial floating island indoor, we took 2 years on 2 lakes. So it's not going to happen in 2 weeks, but at least if you know what are the tools available, what are the policies available, at what level the interventions are happening and can happen, you can write that. Then plans to engage. So you have to have your own plan to engage, make your badge. I'm very, very keen to have your little droplet photo and your photo, because we have not seen many of you. We will gather all these droplets and put it together as one nice poster for all of us. So I'm hoping that you make your pledge using this droplet of you as an example. I have put my photo. Please don't feel bad about it. You have to replace that. So plans to engage, what do you plan to do, and pledge. Okay, these are 2 different things. And then you're writing plans, you can also mention where you seek some kind of assistance and help from others. Okay, so I hope I did justice to the assignment task. I think it's also a good idea to take through the classroom. What do you suggest, Anushri? Because
yes,
it's, I think now we can I think that will be a good thing to do. I will stop this and also share the classroom now. Okay, I have the classroom here with me. I will share. So here you have the classroom. You can see. Can you see? No. Okay, so I see that I have shared, but I don't know whether you are seeing it or not. Okay, do you see the classroom?
Yes.
Okay, So we 31 people have registered, which is a very good number, and I'm hoping at least more than half the people are going to present on 10th. We are completely prepared for it, for your presentations, and look forward to hearing from you. Please come forward and do that. So here is the classroom. We have been posting all the information in the stream. So every time I'm posting some information here, like you see, Anushri has posted here about today's information, but just below that, I have posted the final template of the essay, you know. So now there will be no different templates. So those who have started working on the essay can look at the lower part of the template. Those who are going to start working on the essay can take the entire template again, download it, and start working on it. So I have the information of the template here. Then I have also put the PowerPoint presentation here in the classroom stream. But importantly, you can look at the classwork section here. In the classwork section, you have two assignments, main two assignments. One is the project report, which is the essay, which is in the format. And 6 people did the submission, but it is in the earlier phase. They have not updated it. And one is the final presentation Pachakucha style, in which you are going to submit the 6 slides, or if less, or no more is not allowed. But if you have lesser information, you want to present less, it is fine. But I encourage everybody to present, because it is also your platform to share your lake. We are also very keen to learn, where do you live, what kind of lake you have, what kind of challenges you face, professionally also to engage, and emotionally also to engage. So that we can find out a way in future, you know. So here in the second assignment, you have final presentation Pachakucha style. The format is also uploaded here. So either you go in the stream way or you go in the classwork way. You will find the PowerPoint there for your help. You are going to upload in the classwork, because then we know XYZ person has uploaded the assignments. And then based on the timeline, we are going to give you the slot for the presentation. We will request you to submit before 12 noon on that day, because we also require an hour or so to put things in order and compile them for the presentation. Anything else I'm missing, Anushri or Lalita or Harshita?
Does not look like. I mean,
Okay.
The WhatsApp group.
WhatsApp group already Harshita has created and added everybody, so we can have some community. There are some questions there on WhatsApp group, which I think can also be responded in the WhatsApp later.
Okay. You want to respond in the WhatsApp later or now? No, not now.
If you want to have a look, and if you can quickly respond, and somebody has asked your email ID.
My email ID, yes, it's in the classroom, by the way.
No,
if you look at the classroom,
but maybe this person is from outside.
Okay.
They want to kind of get in touch with you. So there is a chat, and see and respond, or you can write here. And Prabha, I have responded to your question. I can chat. It would be a good idea if you can visit Pachandagara.
I am available at here. And then this is my email ID. Okay, I forgot my email ID.
You have to make it to everyone. This has come to me only.
Okay, sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, is there any question? Thank you so much for the last minute informed on a beautiful. Okay, this is Annalise. Hi, Annalise. How do I do it to everyone? Okay, I see how do I do it. Okay, my email ID and information is available here on the last page of contact. You may contact me. I usually keep 2 email IDs for professional work and for academics. So if you are writing for any of these kind of academic courses and all, it will be Mansee BB Education. So I'm going to just put my email IDs there. Anushri, can you please do that? Because I think that will be easy. I cannot copy my email IDs, which is so strange. Yeah, I will just try. Put the education email ID, that will be useful, okay? And those of you who want to get in touch for some professional collaboration or work or any discussion, you may just write through my website, yeah? I hope that helps. Any more questions?
All right, shall we?
This has a good integral city information here.
Yeah.
Okay, so Anushri and Gautami, you may also copy paste the chat box and keep it for our reference for future. Yeah. Okay, any more questions, or we can call it off and we see each other on 10th? What? Yes. Okay. Yeah.
I can stop the stream now.
Yes. That brings an end to our all the sessions actually. Yes, that's my email ID, manseeb.education@gmail.com. Yeah. This is the end of the teaching part, but this is not the end of our association on lakes and ponds and water management. It actually starts from here, and we are very much keen to look forward to your presentations on 10th. Yeah, and that's it from me. Thank you very much. And Lalit, over to you.
Thank you, Mansee. Thank you. Very comprehensive again, as usual. And you covered many grounds, and good that we could cover this before their final session, which is day after tomorrow. Now, practically the ball is in their court, at least for the 10th.
We are free. I am free. You are free. No, I am free. Not you guys are still busy. I am free.
No. Well, they will keep coming with more and more questions of all kinds. So that will remain, but that is also something what we like to play as a role as much as possibility of in whatever way empowerment. It is more on that line. So we'll keep in touch with our group, those who are working. And if you have any questions, you can also now post on WhatsApp. And main thing is, it is more of over to you. Whatever has been shared, information, insights, knowledge shared, given, you kind of synthesize it, meditate a bit on this, and just put it in the format which has been given. And this is not to take it too strongly on in any anxiety way. It is just a chance to bring things together. Fine. So let us do that. And thank you, everybody. There are many other people, those who joined other than our participants, which was nice and welcome. I know some of them. Nishant is there. And that is it from our side. And we get in touch on 10th. So thank you again, everybody.